On a recent date night, after having a few drinks, I made a remark to my husband that I deeply regret, and now our marriage is hanging by a thread. To give some context, I first met my husband when we were teenagers working at the same call center. Nothing romantic happened back then. He left for college, and I stayed at the job until I graduated high school. 5 years later, we crossed paths again, started dating, and eventually got married. Now we're parents to 2 children. Fast forward to today, my husband is 27 and I'm 25. Last fall, about 6 months after giving birth to our second child, I began taking a new birth control pill. It had some odd side effects, including completely killing my desire for intimacy. My husband would initiate, but I kept turning him down. After 2 weeks of this, he stopped trying. When a week passed without him making a move, I snapped and demanded, "Why haven't you tried to have sex lately?" Our first real date night since the baby's arrival came soon after. We stopped at a bar near our house for a few drinks. Feeling tipsy, I admitted to my husband that I felt guilty, like I cheated on him. Naturally, he was alarmed and asked why I'd feel that way. I told him about a dream I had the previous week involving a guy we used to work with. In the dream, this guy confessed he liked me, and I told him I felt the same. I then started scrolling through this guy's social media in front of my husband, pointing out random details, even criticizing the appearance of the hands of the woman in a photo with him. As if that wasn't bad enough, I rambled on about the fling I'd had with this guy after my husband left for college. I described how he used to tickle me in front of my husband and mentioned a particularly passionate moment where he pushed me against a wall, confessing how much it had turned me on. I even blurted out that maybe I mentioned it because I wanted my husband to do something like that to me. The next morning, my husband was furious, not just because of what I'd said the night before, but also because of how I'd been acting over the past month. He was hurt that I'd shown no interest in intimacy with him for weeks, but then ogled another man's profile right in front of him while reminiscing about past flings. Looking back, his anger only grew when I offered to have sex right then and there. He snapped, "Your body's been off limits for the past month. But one night of talking about this guy screwing you and tickling you finally turns you on." Looking back, I can see why he feels so hurt, especially since he had a crush on me back when we first met but never acted on it. For the past 6 months, we've had moments of peace where things feel normal. But inevitably, those comments I made resurface, leading to heated arguments. He keeps spiraling into these ideas that I only ended up with him because he graduated college, got a good job, and that other guy was no longer an option. He believes that, given the chance, I would cheat on him with a former coworker, and it's tearing us apart. When he questioned me later about why I even brought up that guy, I explained it was because back then, I felt confident in myself. I was at my lowest weight and happiest. Over the course of our relationship, I've gained about 75 pounds, and my husband now believes I've stayed with him out of depression, while the other guy represents a time when I felt truly alive and attractive. Now he's become withdrawn, emotionally distant, and hardly speaks to me. He doesn't touch me anymore, and we haven't been intimate in almost 2 months. His detachment has even extended to our children. I love him deeply, but he's convinced that my heart belongs to someone else from 8 years ago. At one point, he even told me he wished I had ended up with that guy so he wouldn't have to deal with this pain now. I don't want a divorce, but I can't continue living this way. I desperately want to rebuild what we had before everything fell apart. When my husband asked about the past, he's latched on to the idea that the other guy got my younger, more carefree and sexy side, while he's been left with the responsibilities of marriage, kids, bills, and a less than thrilling sex life. He's hurt imagining that I was more passionate with someone else. He even said, "Do you think that guy is looking through your Facebook, reminiscing about how amazing you were? Especially now that you've gained weight. He wouldn't even give you a second glance." I've tried explaining that my feelings for the other guy are non-existent and that my comments were never about him. They were about how I used to feel about myself back then, confident and attractive, things I've struggled with for years. I've apologized repeatedly, promising to make it up to my husband. For a short time he'll seem reassured, but then he spirals again, and the arguments resurface. We've been together for 7 years and have 2 kids. I can't bear the thought of our marriage ending over this. I've made an effort to show him I'm committed. I stopped bringing up the other guy entirely, unfriended him on social media, and only discuss him when my husband presses for answers. I've started working out with my husband to improve my health and show my dedication to fixing things. Despite these efforts, our sex life remains inconsistent, heavily influenced by whether my husband is dwelling on the issue. During one of our arguments, he pointed out my weight gain, saying cruelly, "Do you really think that guy would even look at you now? You've gained so much since then." It hurt deeply, as I'm already painfully aware of how my body has changed after 2 pregnancies. In these fights, he brings up every detail I've shared. How I once called the other guy attractive. His height 3 inches taller than my husband and his dark hair. He even fixates on the fact that this guy was my boss, which I admit added to the allure back then. I've told my husband over and over that this was a fleeting moment of reminiscing, a brief lapse in judgment. I've never thought of that guy as anything more since starting my relationship with my husband, but even minor actions like liking a social media post from the guy have blown up into major issues. When I had a dream about him after all of this started, I foolishly told my husband, which only made things worse. He keeps asking me if I still fantasize about that guy or if I even find my husband attractive anymore. I repeatedly reassured him that my love and attraction are for him alone. But the hurt seems too deeply rooted now. I don't know how to bridge this gap, and I feel like no matter how much I do or say, it's never enough. I just want to find a way back to the love we once had before all this began. I crossed my arms tightly, my voice edged with defiance. "Really? You're turning this on me now?" Eric sank into the nearest chair, looking utterly defeated, like the weight of everything had finally crushed him. He twisted the cap off a water bottle, taking a slow, deliberate sip before speaking. "Imagine needing to disappear for a whole day just to feel some peace. Let that sink in for a second." I felt a lump rise in my throat, but I refused to let it show. My voice wavered, betraying my frustration. "Don't even try to flip this around. I know exactly what you're doing. Playing the victim and trying to make me feel bad." He leaned back, his face unreadable, his words cutting deeper than I wanted to admit. "For years I thought my job was to protect you, from stress, from life. Never did I think I'd have to shield myself from you." The silence between us was thick and suffocating. I struggled to form a response, finally managing a shaky, "Are you done?" Eric nodded and stood slowly, his movements deliberate, almost heavy. "Yeah. I'm done." Without another word, he disappeared into the bedroom, leaving me frozen in place. His words replaying in my mind over and over. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay awake in the dark, scrolling aimlessly through my phone to distract myself. A video popped up, a relationship expert talking about men and their silence. "Men often bear their struggles quietly," the speaker said solemnly. "They don't ask for help, they retreat." I rolled my eyes and kept scrolling, but his words lingered in my thoughts like a stubborn echo. The next morning Eric was gone. No note, no text, just an empty spot where his car should have been. My chest tightened as I grabbed my phone, typing out a message. Leaving without a word. Real mature, Eric. I hit send and waited. Nothing. The kids' voices filled the house as they prepared for school, but my nerves were frayed. Logan, our 6-year-old, tugged gently at my sleeve. "Mommy, can you tie my shoes?" he asked in a small voice, his patience striking me. "Not now, Logan," I snapped, barely sparing him a glance. From the other room, Emma, our 9-year-old, whined loudly. "I can't find my tablet." "Emma, if you keep crying about that tablet, I swear I'm going to lose it," I yelled, my voice sharper than I intended. Logan stood there quietly, his wide, unblinking eyes, so much like Eric's, staring up at me. There was something in his gaze that made guilt creep up my spine. I exhaled slowly, kneeling to tie his shoes. By early afternoon, Eric finally responded. "I'll be back later. Don't wait up." My heart pounded as I read the message. I immediately called him. When he answered, his tone was cold and detached. "What's that supposed to mean?" I demanded. "Don't wait up." "It means exactly what it says," he replied flatly. And before I could respond, he hung up. That evening Eric returned. It was late. Much later than usual. He moved methodically, setting his keys on the counter, draping his jacket over a chair, all without a word. I stood watching him, anger bubbling under my skin. He looked at me briefly, and his expression wasn't anger or exhaustion. It was emptiness. "Are you done sulking?" I asked, my tone sharper than I intended. For a moment he said nothing, just sighed. A low, weary sound that carried a weight I didn't fully understand. "I'm tired, Claire," he said softly. Something in his voice made my chest tighten. It wasn't the kind of tired that a good night's sleep could fix. I folded my arms, refusing to let my guard down. "Yeah, well, so am I. You think I have it easy." He didn't take the bait. No snarky comeback. No sharp remark. Instead, he just looked at me, a long, searching gaze that left me unsettled. "That's the problem," he said quietly. "I don't think you even know what you want. But I do now." His words landed like punches, deliberate and precise. "What the hell does that mean?" I asked, my voice tinged with desperation. He didn't respond. Instead, he walked to the bedroom, opened the closet, and pulled down the old black duffel.